Now, I wanted to talk about your next book. Now, your next book is not it's not nonfiction. It's a novel. I haven't read it yet. I'm excited to read it. Oh, but it sort of deals with these issues of Canadian-born Islamists and the Canadian heroes who deal with them.
Yeah, so our second book is called The Pawns of War. It's a military thriller that takes place in the war against the Islamic State. So it's set in Ottawa, Toronto, and northern Iraq. It's about a Canadian soldier who he thinks he's left the army life behind him, but through a combination of greed, a little bit of arrogance, a sense of revenge, he finds himself dragged back into this murky world of foreign volunteers and mercenaries. And he's given the task of rescuing a wealthy heiress who has been kidnapped by a particularly nasty ISIS commander named Al-Kanadi. Now, Al-Kanadi is a Arabic nom de guerre for, which translates into the Canadian. So the Canadian, he is a guy who has turned his back on his country. He's heeded the call of jihad. He's joined the caliphate. And so the story really centers upon these two very different Canadians who find themselves on opposing sides of this strange and brutal and foreign war. And I think readers are really going to enjoy it because it's told with an authentic grittiness, which can only be told by somebody who was there on the front lines.
Now, I had listened to your interview that you did with Anthony Furey, our friend Anthony Furey, and you raised some very interesting and compelling points about the state of Canadian literature and how it leaves men and boys behind.
Yeah, so I do have some issues with the state of Canadian literature today. What I told Anthony Furey and what I will tell you and your viewers is that I'm disappointed in Canadian literature. We do a pretty good job when it comes to promoting military nonfiction. So, for example, One Soldier did really well in Canada. There's other military books like Ryan Flavel's The Patrol. He's a great Alberta author. Scott Casey in BC, Robert Sumrall, Jody Medich. I'm missing a few others, but my point is we do a good job telling military nonfiction. But when it comes to fiction, this country is doing a terrible job reaching out to what I call a lost generation of readers, and that is boys and men who don't read. And the reason they don't read is because CanLit is producing stories which are, they're boring, they're inane, they're just not interesting. And so there's a huge gap in terms of the books that are available. And what we did with One Soldier, and I think what we've done with The Pawns of War, is we're reaching out to that lost cohort of readers and trying to bring reading back to them, because ultimately, if we have 50% of society that's not reading books, that is a very bad thing for our country.
That's an excerpt from my weekly full-length show, The Gun Show. On my show, I take on the issues of the day through my Alberta conservative lens, and I talk to the real newsmakers the mainstream media ignores. To get access to my show and all of our other premium content, click the link on the screen to subscribe today.